Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Matt, and welcome to Weekly Challenges Guide for Gran Turismo 7. This is for the week of May 16th, 2025. Starting off with the Willow Springs American FR Challenge 550, then to Dragon Trail Gardens Nissan GTR Cup, Edgar Nordvan Lightweight K Cup, then we've got Grand Valley Highway 1 Corvette 1 Make, and then wrapping it all up with the Autodrome Lago Maggiore Full Course World Touring Car 800. Let's jump into it. The point of this guide is if you have absolutely no cars and you want to jump on in and you're struggling with some of these challenges, this is a little bit of a guide of what cars I've chosen, what kind of tunings I've done, what kind of upgrades I've added, and ultimately we'll also show what kind of lap times I'm getting and how I'm going about the race strategies. So we'll start off in the used car dealership. And since our new update has been announced or launched, it's update 1.59, so we'll go with a Corvette Z06 for 54,200 credits. We'll go down to the tuning shop, and we're going to grab 4 items. We'll come on over to Semi Racing, grab a low-end torque supercharger. We'll come over here for Racing Soft, and we'll do Racing Brake Pad and Racing Brake Kit. So rather than starting with the very first event, we're actually going to go over to the Corvette 1 Make. I do want to confirm that this guide is also going to be utilizing the hard difficulty. So this is going to be your one-stop shop for if you're having the hardest time with the hardest difficulty, this is how we're going to do it. Tuning wise, this is a stock C5 Corvette. Again, all we've changed is adding a low-end torque supercharger, racing soft tires, a racing brake kit, and racing brake pads. The only other thing I'm going to do is move that traction control up to 2. This car has a lot of horsepower to the rear wheel, so you're going to want to move that traction control up. Even still, you can tell that this car has still some snaps of oversteer. So be very aware of that. This is trying to be a guide that is of the cheapest that you can possibly get. If you really wanted to spend the extra credits on upgrading this car so it drives just really nice and smoothly, I would recommend upgrading the suspension. The added brakes and the racing tires is awesome. You get a lot of grip, and the brakes really stop the car. Otherwise, really, even with the racing soft tires, it just won't stop. But as you can tell here, with every corner, every time we get on the brakes and then back on the gas, you can see how badly the car is just bouncing around. And even through these corners, it's quite unstable. So try to drive this thing as smoothly as you can, because otherwise we're going to have a lot of problems here. But yeah, just keep in mind of that suspension there. Another thing to keep an eye on is the time. I think you start about 18 seconds down from first, and as you're making up places, the time might not seem like it's really going anywhere. And you're sitting there going, am I going fast enough? Am I really making up enough time, or do I really need to be pushing it harder? It's quite interesting because for the majority of this lap, we've been sitting at about 12 seconds. And as soon as we pass this group of cars, it's going to plummet. I'm not sure why that's the case. It just always seems to be that way whenever you start passing some of the other AI. Then the gap to first just absolutely goes down, even though you've been making up time the entire lap. So we'll just focus on getting past this C5 race car and see if we can get up ahead of this group here. Again, like I said, we're still at 12 seconds, but I know by the time we get to the race line that we're going to be a couple of seconds down from our previous fastest lap. Yep, there we go, a second down, and we're already easily down into 11 seconds. All right, so we're going to pass this guy, and then we're going to get a good racing lap in. So we're braking at the 300. Yes, we're getting past the AI here, but we're going to ease back on the throttle there, and we're going to keep it flat for as long as we physically can. We're going to come to about the bridge, and we're going to brake a little bit just to shave a little bit of speed off. half throttle here, back on the throttle, and then braking hard at 300. Going a little bit wide, but then we're doing a little bit of trail braking, trying our best to keep the oversteer in check. We're flat, and then we're going to hit the apex, and then we're going to brake. Again, a little bit of trail braking, just a little bit on the brake, a little bit back on the throttle, lift off the throttle, back on here, hard on the brakes. Kind of a neutral steer, I suppose, down to second, back on the throttle, ease on that there. I'm going to stay as close to the right-hand side, brake at 100, down to third gear, tap the brakes a little bit, and just keep a little bit on the throttle. Try to keep it as smooth as possible here. Ease back on the throttle, out here onto the bridge. And now we're just going to look for about 150. And then again, we're going to ease off the brakes, kind of keep it nice and stable. A little bit on the throttle, a little bit on the brakes. Screwed up that completely, but we'll just take that there. We don't get any track limit penalties, so maybe that's a little shortcut, a little cheeky shortcut you guys can use to gain on your competitors. And we're going to keep it full throttle, then a little bit of brakes here. Keep it back on the throttle. And hopefully we're going to get better than a 157. Yes, 155 is what we're looking for. All right, here we go. Gonna see if we can dive up on the inside. Oh, it's a little bit wide. I think we've got it here. Dab on the brakes, back on the throttle. Perfect. So yeah, as you guys could tell, most of lap 2 and 3, 12 seconds down. Didn't look like I was gonna get anywhere close. I was actually thinking about making the commentary talking about how it's okay to, you know, just finish in second or third because you still get the points anyway. But yeah, and now that we passed the AI, we are 2 seconds ahead. And here we go. 92,000, and then we get a 3-star roulette. And then this is the first reward, the 6-star roulette ticket for parts. So now we completed our first event. We're actually going to go to the actual first event. Change absolutely nothing about the car. And let's see how this goes. Making sure we're on traction control 2. This one is actually, like I said, incredibly easy because all you're doing is you're doing 2 laps of wheel springs. You're mainly just trying to find a way to get through all of the traffic and keep your car on the road at the same time. That's kind of the goal here. And I want to say first time I did this, first lap was 122, the second lap was 121, and easy. And already at the back end of lap 1, we're already just about passing these guys. Absolutely crazy. Dab on the brakes, grab up on the inside, headlights are up. Ease on the throttle, keep it on the course, perfect. And if you guys wanted a lap guide, we're gonna kind of figure this one out. We're gonna brake at about 150. Went down to third. You could probably keep it in fourth. I would probably keep it in fourth. Down here to third, this one you're gonna have to kind of feel out. It's kind of keep on the throttle for, you know, half throttle and then go up into fourth, and then again on the way out of the corner, kind of ease on the throttle, assuming you don't go wide. We're braking really early at 100. You could probably brake at 75. Again, just dabbing the brakes a little bit there, easing back on the throttle in third gear. Again, this one's a little bit of a weird one. Okay, don't listen to my lap guide. And we'll keep on the throttle down here and then brake at the end of the curb, back on the throttle, probably keep it in third gear there. Keep on it, keep on it, keep on it. And then we will follow the left side, start lifting off the throttle, dabbing the brakes a little bit, try to keep it as much on the inside as possible. Braking at like 175. And again, just really light on the throttle. You don't want to overdo it here because it's really unforeseen tight corner at the very end. We're going to keep on the throttle. And ironically, 123. There are a couple of mistakes there, but yeah, Will Springs is just an easy track. We finish 8 seconds ahead of everybody. All right, for the next one is the Nissan GT-R Cup. What we're going to want to do here is take a look at our list, and we're actually going to go after the Nissan GT-R 2017. A couple of different reasons for that one. We're looking through our menu books here, and we come to menu book number 35, the Nissan GT-R Collection. As you can tell here, if you've completed this one already, you should have the Nissan GT-R 2017. If not, let's hop over to the Brand Central. Fifth car in, it is for $94,700. We'll just purchase one just to be safe. You're going to be quite familiar with this setup because we go over to Racing. We'll do Racing Soft. We'll do Racing Brake Pad and Racing Brake Kit. So this one, quite similarly, this is actually quite interesting because the brakes are incredibly touchy on this, but with the Racing Soft tires, this thing stops so easily and so quickly. It's got an amazing launch because of that all-wheel drive system. But again, having consumer grade suspension, it's not as bouncy as the Corvette, but that definitely could be something to be looked at if you're really just not happy with its stability. No traction control, because this thing just is planted. It is just a fabulous car. Furthermore, I don't believe we need the turbocharger. This is a maximum of 700 power points. We're sitting at about 665. I think just as is, we're going to be just fine. And like I was saying before, the main point of this is just carving through the traffic, making sure that you're just trying to get as clean a lines as possible. Yes, we're not going to have perfect racing lines on these opening couple laps, but we're just focused on catching up to these guys and making as easy, clean passes as possible. Already just over a couple of corners we've made up like 5 seconds, so it's one of those kind of races. Yeah, already partway through lap 2, we're now into 13 seconds down. Yeah, so when you see that you start about 30 seconds down and you're going, how am I going to make up that time? It's just really easy. Starting lap 5 and we're less than 3 seconds down now. As we're approaching first place, we're going to make that pass really quickly, I know it. Come up over here on the inside, brake down, don't necessarily go down to second gear, tap on the brakes, and we are passed. Beginning of lap 4, we're already 8 seconds ahead. So let's do a little bit of a lap guide. We're braking at the end of the curves over there hard down to 4th gear. We're easing back on the throttle up into 5th. We're braking at about 125 down to 3rd. You could probably brake at about 100. And we're back down on the brakes, keeping in 3rd gear. Going to come over here, again, just a tiny bit on the brakes, just to help stabilize the car. We're back on the throttle. We're going and we're going and going, and we're going to touch just the inside here, or at least try to look for it. And then we're going to brake hard about 150. That's going to be our marker for most of this course, is 150. I think we actually broke just a tiny bit early, but we're going to touch both of those curves, the inside there and the outside on this one. We're going to go here, and then we're going to lift off and go to touch that one. And we're going to brake hard down to 3rd, try to touch that curb, back on the throttle, back up to 4th, back down to 3rd, touch that curb, try to shoot to touching this curb, up into 4th. This one we're going to brake a little bit early. I keep on going really wide there, lifting just off the brakes, back to touching that curb, trying to ease back on that throttle there, making sure we're literally hitting every apex that we can. And then we're going to come straight down here, down to the 150, down to 3rd. Just let that neutral steer work for you. Back on the throttle. Go a little bit wide there. And what's their time? 137, 38, 39, 140. Apparently that was slow. And across the line. So as you guys kind of saw there, the laps can be kind of messy, and that's okay. because we still finished nearly 20 seconds ahead of the pack. Will sprints can be messy. Dragon Trail can be messy. When we get to Grand Valley Highway, though, you can have a couple mistakes and be okay, but just keep an eye on that one. And of course, because we won our third event, we now have an additional 150,000 credits at our disposal. Next in line is the Lightweight K Cup. And if we take a look here, we've got a couple of interesting regulations or restrictions. We can only use comfort softs. Of course, it has to be a K car. It has to be 400 power points or less. So let's take a look at our options here. Yes, we have a couple of options in the used car dealership, but the one that I found that works fairly well is going to be the Honda S660 2015 for 19,800 credits at the Brand Central. So normally to raise the power points up, I'll go for racing soft tires, but in this case, because we're stuck with comfort softs, we'll have to use a couple of different ideas. So for this instance, we'll do medium RPM turbo. That'll get us to 393. And then being able to stop is nice. So we'll do racing brake pads and then racing brake kit. All right, this one is a challenging one. You start, I want to say 30 seconds down. So in order to make up time, you have to be 5 seconds a lap faster than first. On my first run through, I didn't even get first. So this is one that just expect to get a podium, and that's okay, because when it comes to this race, with that previous one that I did, I was a second down from first, and I was 6 seconds ahead of third, I want to say, and then beyond that, the rest of the group was like 20 seconds down. So I think it's fairly easy to get a podium if you have 6-7 seconds worth of slop, let's just say. But it's interesting with this car. It acts like a heavy BMW, a heavy muscle car, even though it's like a lightweight K car. The reason why I say that, it's all down to the tires, and it understeers like crazy. It brakes well, but it just, you gotta act like that you're in like a really heavy muscle car. I mean, not as much oversteer as you would normally have in those kind of cars, but just expect to be a little bit early on the brakes to try to ease into the corner the best as you can. Just expect that, you know, you're not going to make the corners all the time, you know. All right, we had one mistake earlier where we're down a second, so we're not quite hitting our 6 seconds a lap. But for a lap guide, we're braking at the beginning of the curb there from 5th gear down to 2nd. We're trying to keep the car really tight on the inside, having a lot of just neutral steer. We're not adding the throttle, not adding the brake, just kind of letting the car do its thing a lot of the time. Here, we're just barely getting on the throttle, and then we're back on just letting it do its thing, and then we're back at the power just as fast as we can. Again, this is sitting there in 3rd place in a podium place. I think that's the best we're going to do here. But coming down here, we're braking kind of in the middle, trying to keep it on the inside from going way too wide. And this here, we're just chugging up the hill in 3rd gear, going up to 4th, really just hugging this inside wall as best as we can. And then keeping on the throttle, tight there, keeping on the throttle, tight here. And then we're gonna just go through the middle of all that, brake in between those two apexes, and ease on throttle back down here. Still 6.5 seconds off of first. So I'm curious if I'm missing something with this one. I'm curious if somebody's figured out that if you can do, I don't know, a cappuccino engine swap or something, and you just detune it from there, you add, like, you lower the ECU power or you add ballasts, and that's the way to do it. But I feel that the S660 is nice and planted. It's pretty predictable. It's fast enough to get you to a podium place. I'm a little bit sad that we're not getting first out of this one yet, so maybe there's, again, like I said, maybe there's a cappuccino engine swap that I'm missing or something, you know? The last and final one, Autodrome Lago Maggiore World Touring Car 800, is a very misleading one. So we will use the BMW M6 GT3 Sprint model. And the reason why we're going to do that, also we have a turbocharger, I believe, on this. The reason why we're going to do it is the car that was at the top of the leaderboard for the Nations Cup. When you did this course, you were driving this car. So we're going to start out in Traction Control 2. We're going to start out on Power 6. And this one's a difficult course for a number of reasons. First of all, this was the car to be using for the Nations Cup. Of course, it was on soft tires, and it was on fuel usage 1 or 2, and then tires were on 1 or 2. This is on using race tires times 8 tire usage times 8 fuel usage. To be blunt, this is not the car you're going to be using for this, but I want to give you an example why you shouldn't be using a Group 3 car for this race. Because we are starting 27 seconds down. We're on, like I said, Power 6. And we're already at like 93% of our fuel. We're just burning through it. So at the beginning of lap 4, we've made up 3 seconds, maybe? And our tires are, they don't look bad, but they feel bad already. And our fuel usage is at about half. There's a couple of things that come around with this. We will definitely have to pit, probably about lap 5 for a little bit of fuel and new tires. I would recommend doing that. There's some discussion as to how many times each of these AI drivers pit. I've seen quite a few pit at the end of lap 4, and I've seen a couple of them again pit on lap 8. So if there is even just one driver that pits once, we're not making up any time. And that's the problem, is that we are just kind of sitting back here. We've made up a couple of places, sure, but we're not making them up fast enough. Our tires are degrading way too fast, and our fuel is degrading way too fast. So what do we do in this situation? So I come back to the menu books because there's one back here. It's the World Touring Car 900. And if you completed this one, you know kind of where I'm going. To get 900 power points, you need a Group 2 car. Why am I bringing up Group 2 when the power point limit is 800? Reason being is if you take a Group 2 car and you detune it, it's just cheating at that point. So if we look at extra menu book number 7, these are kind of the ones that we're shooting for. It's Nissan GTR Nismo GT500 2016, the Lexus RCF GT500 2016, or the Honda NSX Concept GT 2016. Any of these cars, I believe you would have been able to complete the normal menu book, but in order to complete this extra one, if you choose one of these, you can kind of get a double whammy. You can kind of complete 2 at the same time. So in this instance, I will be spending 800,000 credits to get the GT500. Ouch. But that being said, we kind of go off of the mentality of buy once, cry once. Because literally all we do from here is, this is crazy. So we'll buy racing hard tires for 18,500. We'll come over to the garage, go to car settings, hards are equipped, and then we just take this and we ramp it down to, I don't know, 75. Keep checking, keep checking. There we go. 72%. And we are now under 800. Everything else is as stock. And the big reason why we're doing this is a couple of reasons. Is this just became your Sardegna build for doing that track and grinding out those credits. Normally people do the Mazda 787B. That is a really good car too. That is the preferred one. But taking a Group 2 car and detuning it, you are saving a ton of fuel and you're actually saving tire life as well. If you're keeping it all at 100%, yeah, it's going to be nearly 900 power points. But this car, like every other race car, shreds those tires. So by detuning it so far, it keeps both that fuel up and the tires up without having to go fuel map 6. It's kind of wild. So here we are, starting once again, nearly 30 seconds down. Let's see how this goes. So one caveat that I do have here is you will need to adjust the fuel map just slightly. If you want to start, I believe when I did this the first time around, it was starting on fuel map 4 and then halfway through going to fuel map 3. I think the better way to go about it here is to leave it on fuel map 1 while you still have the tires, and you just use that fuel to carve through the traffic, because already, again, it doesn't seem like we're making up too much time, because when the timer started, it looked like that we're about 25 seconds down from first. But the thing about this car is you don't actually need to pit. End of lap 4 here. We're doing pretty well. We've made up quite a significant amount of time. But this is where the pitting starts. So we'll see who goes. Looks like first went and second went. So beginning of lap 5, we're in first. So we've used 50% of our fuel already. So I think at this point, we've made our claim. We could probably turn that down just a little bit, see if we can conserve our fuel up until the end. All right, this won't be our fastest lap, but here's the lap guide. In fuel map 4, we're braking a little bit early at a board and a half to the end, we'll call it. We're down in second. We're easing back up on the throttle. You may want to do traction control 1 if you're unsure. You'll keep on the throttle here. You'll brake halfway up to the apex here. We'll ease back on the throttle here. The corner up here is a really tricky one. You think you want to stay far to the outside and then cut tight in, but you'll actually cut tight in, be on the brakes early, and go wide, and then come back out here. Only going down a gear. You almost want to stay wide and then go down a couple of gears, but don't do that. Stay tight to the inside, go down a single gear, and then this is just all flat, touching each of those apexes, keeping it nice and smooth out through here, touching the apex here, and then going straight out here. Like I said, we're 3 seconds down, but when we're already 10, 15 seconds up from the next place and we don't need a pit, we have a little bit of time to spare. So there, we're braking at the 50, going down to third, and now we're again still flat out, trying to get as close to the apexes as we can. We'll brake probably about the 75, again a little bit early, so probably shooting for 60, 50 if you're really brave. We'll go down yet another gear here, ease back on the throttle, back up into fourth gear. If you have a higher fuel map, you'll go up into fifth. You'll brake at the board and try to keep it nice and tight, and then just let it flow to the outside. And then we are across the line at a 159. Again, that was a very sloppy, slow lap. As you can tell, I can get up to a 1 minute 54 second lap there in fuel map 1. But as you can tell with the people pitting, we're, I don't know, 11, 12 seconds ahead, and now they're still pitting. So we can easily go to fuel map 5 even, and we've got 26 seconds to spare. So this is why I say using this car is nearly cheating, because in a lot of cases it kind of is. I feel like we should be using a Group 3 car, but with the amount of understeer, with the amount of fuel that's being wasted, with the amount of tires that are being shredded, it's crazy to think that for 30 power points less, you can use that kind of Group 3 car, or you can have this car that basically doesn't have oversteer, that is just absolutely planted, and it's faster than the Group by a country mile. It's a little bit pricey, but if you buy it once, you'll be set for a lot of these World Touring Car Championship 800 races, that's for sure. And here we go. On my first run through, again, I did fuel map 4 until about lap 5, and that was fuel map 3. This one, I did fuel map 1 until about lap 5, and then it was down to like 5, and then 6, and then 5. First run through, it was about a minute ahead of everybody. Now, only about 47 seconds or thereabouts. Again, no pits. So this car's handling great on these completely, nearly dead hard tires. So yeah, it's just the upfront cost of this car is disheartening. It's scary. It's bad. But once you get over that, any level 800 event becomes a breeze. It really is. So we take a look here. Then we got our 6-star roulette ticket of a car. We'll take a look at that now. So with this all said and done, this is what you're going to come up with. You're going to have your driving marathon completed. So you get a 3-star roulette. For completing the first race, you get a 6-star roulette for parts. For completing race number 3, you get 150,000 credits. And when you complete it all, you'll have a 6-star roulette for a car. Our 3-star produced 5,000 credits. This, no matter what it is worthless. I hate to say it about the parts. I will take that 150, thank you. And then let's see what the 6-star roulette is gonna be. Ooh. Lamborghini Vision Gran Turismo. Not too bad. All right, let's take a look at the numbers here. So the Corvette and all of its upgrades was 118,200 credits. The Nissan GTR with all of its upgrades is 138,770 credits. The Honda S660 with all of its few upgrades is 37,800. And then the Group 2 Nissan GT500, the 2016 model specifically, there's a reason that we say that, is 818,500 for itself and the racing hard tires. So the whole thing, all the cars, all the upgrades, everything, will cost 1,113,200 credits. The amount of money that we made back was 5,000 from the 3-star roulette, 150,000 credits, and then with the Lamborghini Vision Gran Turismo, its value is 495,780. However, I didn't have to buy it brand new, and that is a 1,000,000 credit car. So, that being said, the total value that we got was 1,155,000 credits, which means, got to do some math. So if we had 1,155,000 minus all of our costs of 1,113,200, we still made a 41,800 credit profit. That being said, you won't have to buy a Group 2 car ever again if there's another World Touring Car Championship 800 event. You've got it. So yes, that was a fairly long weekly challenge guide. Let me know down in the comments section what you guys thought of it, if you liked it, if you didn't like it. Please note, I will never do this again because I had to stay up and I had to wake up at 2 in the morning to start the recording and then edit it down, and I'm still probably going to export it and get it out late to you guys, late being past 10 o'clock Central Time. Regardless, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Let me know what you guys did for the lightweight K Cup, because again, I was a little bit unsure about that one. So let me know about that. Like I said, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Again, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great day today. Take care. Bye.